Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to News9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the studio is my colleague Varghese Abraham, and we've got some special guests lined up today because this panel is going to talk about Chandrayaan 3. That's our focus over the next couple of minutes as ISRO's attempt to land on the moon after Chandrayaan 2. It's Chandrayaan 3's turn, and well, we're ready to launch. Chandrayaan 3 is all set for the big launch today. The lander Vikram will touch down on the lunar surface at August 23 after about a 40-day journey. Now, if Vikram, the lander, which is carrying the rover Pragyan, manages to soft land, India will be the fourth country to have a rover on the moon after the United States, the Soviet Russia, and China. Now, learning from the Chandrayaan 2's failure to soft land in 2019, ISRO has made several changes to the third moon mission to ensure a safe landing. The final landing has been planned or is expected to take place on the 23rd of August and will be tracked by ISRO's Bengaluru station. So much to talk about. It is a bid to study the moon from the Earth's surface and the Earth from the lunar orbit. It is the final landing that is planned on the 23rd of August. It's going to be tracked by ISRO's Bengaluru station, and a successful landing will make India only the fourth nation to soft land on the lunar surfaces. It's a 10-phase journey to the Earth satellite, the Earth-centric phase, followed by the lunar transfer phase, and finally the lunar orbit insertion, and then moon-bound maneuvers by the mission module. We don't have a lunar orbiter this time around. That's the most significant difference between Chandrayaan 2 and Chandrayaan 3. But a lot of people that are already trickling in at Sriharikota's space station, 10,000 seats that were gone in just about 3.5 hours. The 10,000 seats of the Views' gallery at the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota were taken up in less than 3.5 hours. The visuals that you're seeing on your screens right now are the final pictures before this particular lunar module was packed up inside the Chandrayaan 3 mission module, which is atop the LMV3, which is the launch vehicle Mark 3, the LVM3, beg your pardon, that is going to propel this particular mission outside into the atmosphere and finally push it towards the moon, firstly into the Earth's orbit, and then later on it's going to deboost, and pre-landing and landing is going to take place, which is phases 6 to 9, and finally the moon-centric normal orbit phase, which is the final phase, which is post-landing. Maneuvers will be performed to normalize the propulsion module's orbit. So much to talk about. We've got some expert guests on our panel. We're going to speak to them as well and introduce them in just a bit. It's a surprise, so do stay on with us. But before all of that, take a look at how the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, he is in France. He spoke to the Indian community there. That was a proper diaspora outreach, and he spoke about our technological prowess, our engineering prowess. For lesser amount of money, we are giving more quality to, well, in space engineering on a global platform. Let's listen into what the Prime Minister had to say in France.
21वीं सदी की दुनिया टेक्नोलॉजी और टैलेंट के दम पर ही आगे बढ़ेगी। भारत और फ्रांस के बीच साझेदारी का ये बहुत बड़ा आधार है। हमारा स्पेस प्रोग्राम इसका प्रमाण है। थुम्बा में जब साउडिंग रॉकेट स्टेशन के निर्माण की बात आई तो फ्रांस ही था जो मदद के लिए आगे आया। उसके बाद से हम दोनों देशों ने स्पेस सेक्टर में बहुत लंबा सफर तय किया है। आज हम एक दूसरे के सैटेलाइट्स लॉन्च कर रहे हैं और आपको खुशी होगी, अभी जब मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूं तो भारत में चंद्रयान 3 की लॉन्चिंग के लिए रिवर्स काउंटिंग की गूंज सुनाई दे रही है। कुछ ही घंटों बाद भारत के श्रीहरिकोटा से ये ऐतिहासिक लॉन्च होने जा रहा है।
Well, that was the Prime Minister speaking in France. Now, of course, G Raju, who's a former senior scientist at ISRO, is with us on the broadcast. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Before we get into the nitty-gritties, Raju ji, हमें ये बताइए, how are you feeling? What are your expectations today? We heard the Prime Minister. It is a clear-cut demonstration of what India can do when it comes to the space realm. What are you expecting today? And then we'll, expand the discussion further as to what are the differences between Chandrayaan 2, Chandrayaan 3. What is it that you're expecting? What are some challenges that can come in the way of this lunar mission module? But first and foremost, it's a historic day. What are you expecting? Mr. V. N. Jha, I'm told you're also with us on the broadcast. Mr. Jha, would you like to answer that question if you've heard it?
Oh, yes. Look, we have got a lot of expectations. When Chandrayaan 2 happened, we were live at that time, and we didn't believe our eyes during the entire phase of descent of Vikram from its insertion to the landing. It was all copybook. Everything was precise till the last few seconds what had happened. And what ISRO has done in these periods is they have looked into every bit of possibility that could have gone. In science, they are saying that if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. That is the technology of what we learn. And what happened in Chandrayaan 2, we don't consider it as a failure. It is always a learner that has given us the food for thought for designing the subsequent Chandrayaan 3 that is going now. And this Chandrayaan 3, it has got many corollary parameter inputs, sensors, which is giving a feed to the main computer of lander. And also, it has got many other things which can take care of for the fail-safe mode. Redundancy is inbuilt there in particular thing. So, many things have gone. It has gone through the numerous simulation trials, actual trials on the ground. It has been dropped by the helicopter and made a soft touchdown. But remember, this is Earth. Here the G is 980 centimeter per second square. At Moon, the G is just about 1/6 of what we have here on Earth. So all these intricacies are there, even though we have done the trials, but still, in a technology, when you go to a new environment, and Moon is a new environment, there is no.
But why is the Moon so important, Group Captain Jha? Why do you think the Moon is important? I mean, we know that several countries like the United States and China have pretty much been stationed there for the longest time. Their research compared to our research is way higher. Why is the Moon important here?
Moon is important for various reasons. First is the inquisitiveness that we have got into the Moon. What it is made of, why it is shining so bright. What is there in the Moon? So and there the metallurgy of Moon is entirely different from that of Earth. So that is why it has attracted the entire world community. Now, Moon is the one where lot of precious materials are going to be there. I am not convinced whether we should exploit those minerals and materials and bring it back to Earth. But all the same, it is there. That is what is the science. What is there in the sun that we are going to look for? What is there in the Venus, Chandrayaan we have sent? What is there in the Mars, Mangalyaan we have sent? Moon is the closest to us. We can go and fulfill all our ambitions of the scientific development in technology. Any time that you send a craft to the Moon, you are testing yourself for the technological development, technological leap that India is taking. And that is where we are going to the Moon, because it is going to give us a lot of inputs. You don't know what will happen to the planet Earth. We have a Moon as a habitat. We can have Mars as a habitat. So all these possibilities, scientists always keep on looking. It is never the last moment. कि यार देखो वहाँ पे हम लोग जा सकते हैं या we can do something there. It doesn't happen that way. If you have to go to another cosmic body, moon we consider as a cosmic body. So if we have to go
Right.
there, there are lot many intricacies that we are experiencing as such. Today is the beginning. It is only the beginning. The journey starts from today. For your viewers, may I just explain? If this is the Earth, and from the Earth today, the craft, the LVM, that is the launch vehicle Mark III, will be sending the craft to the moon at an inclination slightly at 21 degree. And when we go to the moon, uh, we don't go to the first. We go to the Earth parking orbit. It is a highly elliptical orbit that the payload of Chandrayaan 3 will be placed into, and there it will be about 170 into 36,500 of the elliptical body. In the
All
coming
right.
days, during the sling operation, every time that the payload Chandrayaan 3 passes through the Earth, it gains more speed, it goes more higher up. And on the day when Chandrayaan will be sent towards moon, that is the lunar trajectory, the perigee motor will be firing, be giving more velocity. The
Right.
velocity will be somewhere around the escape velocity that can escape the Earth's gravity, and then it will start traveling towards the moon. As it goes towards moon, its speed from 11.2 or 11.3 kilometers per second, it will be continued washing and washing off. And when it reaches moon, that time it will be about 1.5, 1.8
Right.
kilometers per second. So with that, it will be grabbed by the moon's gravity, and then it will enter the moon space. That is-
Certainly, certainly. And another interesting thing to note here is that, one Earth day on the moon, feel like 15 or 14 Earth days. And that's the time that, our module will have to conduct any kind of research that it does. So 23rd of August is the expected date, but if that is unable to happen, what I've learned, from my readings here and there, is that ISRO is going to wait another 15, 14 days to make that lunar landing. 19-20 हो सकता है इधर उधर, but it seems like 23rd of August is that expected date. I'm also told that G Raju, senior scientist at the ISRO, is also with us on the broadcast. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Sir, we're talking about the South Pole on the moon. Why is this South Pole, the southern hemisphere, really important? We're talking about the significance of the moon, how it could be a launching pad for future missions towards Mars and beyond. The water over there has those hydrogen properties, could act as a rocket fuel as well. So what is the significance essentially of hitting the South Pole here, sir?
The question is for me?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, there are some good leveled even spaces for landing on the backside of the moon. And that's why all the attempts are going on to make sure that we'll have a good landing site in that area. Less number of craters and
Okay.
even level platform. That is the main and it's a very, very unexplored area as of now. Have I answered your question?
No, absolutely. Do you have anything else to add? It's unexplored. There is better landing area over there. Anything else that we must keep in mind when we're looking at the South Pole?
Yeah, probably there are some minerals. I don't know. There are a lot of things that are unexplored. I was seeing that there is plenty of ammonia. There are many useful minerals. So we have to just put an spectrometer and then check what other elements or rare earth minerals are available there. That is the kind of enthusiasm with the students, the scientists are looking for. Thank you.
And, Mr. Raju, at the same time, there are several images that we have of the, Pragyan rover and the Vikram lander. There are some, high-tech, state-of-the-art, specified modules that have been placed inside, the rover and the lander. It can pick up seismic activity. It has, lasers installed that's going to constantly be in touch with the Earth. What all, is the lander and the rover fitted with?
See, rover basically is not a larger scientific value except you are having an in situ measurement. It's only a short time. Rover will make sure that what you are looking from either lander or For example, orbiter. It's more like a ground truth, as we call, to make sure that what we are getting from remote observation is in fact there. So, for example, you have to make measurement with respect to the regolith structure. That regolith means dusty surface, and you have to find out the property, electrical properties, dielectric properties, mineralogy. All those things have to be taken for full value of what you have measuring. So there, the rover comes into picture for actually measuring the real truth of the situation. That is one important. And you have other like a spectrometer from the lander area. You have, say, as you know, what is the spectrometer? Spectrometer will give you the unique
I'll tell you what, sir.
features.
I'll tell you what, sir. Why I'm asking this question is because a lot of people, are saying that this is not, any groundbreaking science, scientific invention,
Should not
discovery
what?
that's going to happen. There is no. This is not going to be any groundbreaking mission that we're carrying out. This is just demonstrating India's
I
engineering
didn't
prowess
get
to
your
the
question.
world.
Please repeat
But
it.
from what
Sorry.
you're telling me, I think this is actually very important and crucial.
Yes, because we want to make sure what we are observing from remote platform is correct. So we cannot send a person, so we send a robot or we send this kind of a rover to make what is known as on-the-spot measurement. So it will give measurement with respect to the actual
Okay.
material.
All right,
Like-
Varghese,
like-
I remember watching Chandrayaan 2's landing with you in 2019 last time around, and we were all excited about watching it. It was into the wee hours of the day, about 12:30 a.m. was almost hitting about 1 a.m. During the midnight, and suddenly the blip, it just went off the radar. We lost
I think it was
connection.
in the kind
We
of
lost
afternoon
connection.
it was, and then you had Sivan coming and saying that the antenna or something like he was just pointing out to the Prime Minister and trying to explain what was happening. It was a disappointment then, but then it was a big, ambitious project that we were taking up, having to land softly and to remote control it from a station on Earth is not an easy task. As scientist Raju was saying, it is a complex series of complex actions that have to be coordinated, sequenced and monitored while you carry on with this mission. Now here the first part is of the launch, and I think we'll have Raju, our scientist friend Raju, also agreeing to the fact that the more complex part is going to be after the launch would be about the landing part of it. But I have one question for Raju as well. Sir, can you just tell me that India has been always relying a lot on gravity push? Most of them, we take a longer time to send our probes towards, hurtling towards Mars or even to the moon. We are taking a lot of help from gravity. Is it part of that cost-cutting effort that we are looking at? We are just using a cosmic highway with regards to gravity.
So what is the question, please?
Yes, it's to you, sir.
Yes, see, moon has got lesser gravity, almost 1/6 or 1/7 of the
Well, it seems like we're having technical
gravitational
difficulties
launching.
with the.
If you launch any extraterrestrial mission from the moon,
You know what? We'll fix that lineup with Mr. Raju. Let's take the same question to Group Captain, V.N. Jha, who's also with us, former scientist with the ISRO. Sir, if you heard the question, would you like to give it a shot?
Yeah. See what happens when you have to send the craft towards celestial body, maybe moon or maybe Mars or Venus. It has to go outside the Earth's gravity. So what we understand, there is something known as escape velocity. Escape velocity is the velocity at which if you send the object out of the Earth, it will bypass the Earth's gravity and go somewhere else. Now there are two ways of achieving that escape velocity. Firstly, you can have your strong engine, and with that engine you just take off from the Earth's surface and evade the Earth's gravity and go anywhere that you want. Most of the NASA mission has been doing that. Another is that if you don't have such a strong engine to take you all through, like here also in this particular launch or in all last previous launches, ISRO has been having a launching rocket. That rocket takes it to the Earth's parking orbit, Earth's orbit,
Right.
and that orbit is made a bit elliptical. If I can show you, if this is the Earth.
Could you hold the sir? Could you hold the globe a little higher so that the viewers can also see?
Okay.
Right. Right.
If this is the Earth's globe, make it a little more visible in case.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You'll have to bring it closer to your face for that.
Okay. So what happens that when we now send the rocket out from here, it goes into an elliptical orbit. This elliptical orbit is more towards outside that apogee point,
Right.
which is going to be about 36,500 kilometers, and again it returns back towards Earth by its pull and makes another pass. This pass is near the perigee, the closest point. So
Okay.
when it comes to the perigee, it is a sling operation in which the speed gets augmented every time that it is thrown out by the Earth's gravity. We fire the perigee motor also to give some more speed, and then it goes with more speed. So with every sling pass, the speed keeps on getting augmented, and the orbit keeps on raising. Now we know the moon is about 3.8 lakh kilometers. So every time that the orbit is raised, it is more prone to go towards the moon. So that is how we gain the speed towards the escape velocity. Otherwise, if we had NASA craft, then the NASA craft had got that sort of engine which could just take it off from the Earth's surface and cross the moon or wherever it is. Most of those engines are carrying so much of fuel and so much of power. In our case, it is the smaller craft like GSLV or PSLV. It just puts that payload into the orbit. Payload has its own motor, smaller engine, which keeps on boosting during the perigee run. When the sling operation towards
This slingshot that you're talking about, sir, the propelling, action that you're talking about, slowly and steadily we increase our orbit around the Earth, move towards the moon, finally take a slingshot towards the moon. We will orbit the moon for 5 Earth days as well, drawing closer and closer to the lunar, the lunar orbit itself, and finally make a landing. What Varghese essentially asked was, are we making good use of this cosmic highway? Is India the one that has, finally, got down the formula of making the most of this cosmic highway? Because let's not forget, propelling yourself directly outside the gravity of Earth would require a better engine, which means more weight on your entire mission. It would mean more fuel. That would add weight again. So in terms of efficiency, are we taking the right step?
Absolutely. That is the point that you have hit. See, India has got a problem right now. We have got PSLV, which can carry about, say, 3 tons of load into the low Earth orbit. We have got GSLV, which can carry about 4 tons of load. We have got the LVM, launch vehicle Mark III of the GSLV, which can carry about 5 tons or so to the low Earth orbit or 4 tons to the higher orbits. So that is our limitation. China can carry about, say, 21 tons of load in a single shot. NASA or SpaceX, they can carry almost about the same 21 to 22 or even 25 tons in a single go. India can't. India doesn't have that sort of vehicle. So what we try to cover up is with the slingshots around the Earth when it makes a run past from the perigee. That speed is gained, that velocity is gained, and with that we continue boosting. And the same thing when it comes close to the moon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yeah. When it comes close to the moon, remember, moon has got just about 1/6 of the Earth's gravity.
Right.
So that payload has to come close to the moon, very close to the moon, when the speed or velocity has already washed out from what it was about 11.2 or 11.3 kilometers per second. From there, while coming up, it has washed out to about 1.5 kilometer or even less per second. And that is the time when it is inserted into the moon's gravity. Now, in the moon gravity, also when it enters the moon gravity, its velocity is quite lot. That 1.5 or 1.6 kilometer per second is quite lot for the moon, because moon's escape velocity is just about 2.3 kilometers per second. So by chance, in case if the speed is not washed out, this craft will escape moon. It will go into the deep space. So it will be uncontrollable. That is the time the onboard engine, what the propulsion system will be carrying, that will slow down the aircraft for it to be slowed to about 1.5 kilometers or slightly less than that, and make it grab by the moon's gravity. When it enters gravity, initially its orbit will be elliptical, very high. Gradually it will be slowed down, and then it will be made perfectly about 100 kilometers into 100 kilometers, absolutely circular orbit in the polar direction. So when that becomes, then it will stabilize in those days, and it takes many days.
And now we have to hope that in the next 40 days we achieve this, position. That's going to be the next step.
So that comes back to your original question. What happens that if you have few more days? So we have cushion period here. These motions of sling operations, or the reducing the velocity of the craft to get 100 into 100 kilometer orbit of the moon, it stabilizes, it takes time. So we have some cushion period. Should the lunar daytime, the spot where we were supposed to be landing, if the morning has already started there, that is the time when we intend to land, make the soft landing. With the morning already happening there, with every passing day, every Earth passing day, it will continue moving, and it takes about 14 Earth day for that the sunrise in the lunar surface.
Right, the sunrise to sunset on the moon takes about 14 Earth days. So all of these points that you're making, Group Captain Jha, certainly are pertinent points. We're joined by former senior scientist G Raju, who's back with us on the broadcast. We're going to take this next question with you, Mr. Raju. Landing on the moon has proven to be a challenging endeavor for many space agencies. What do you think, according to you, are primary technical and engineering complexities that are involved in achieving a successful soft landing on the lunar surface? Let's not forget, if we're able to do it, we'll only become the 4th country on this planet to do so.
Yes. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so one of the important questions, very interesting. One of the important things, you have to slow down the craft. You have to reduce the speed by using thrusters. Last time, we didn't have enough time. We had almost gone to 13 meters or so. There was not enough time to calculate the landing site location more exactly. Now, this time, to ensure that we have enough time as well as distance to travel, we have increased, ISRO has increased the landing site area to nearly 2.5 kilometers by 4 kilometers. So you have enough time to calculate. A lot of errors will accumulate. All these errors have to be properly dealt with. Suitable algorithms are required to calculate, to pinpoint the safest location for landing on the moon. So these are all the things, a few things that have been changed. And one of the major things is additional fuel, so that you can travel for quite a longer distance, like I said, 4 kilometers or so. And you have enough time to calculate the location, position where it is safe to land.
Mr. Raju, one question that I have is this also. I want to know one thing, that is, when we send the Mars Orbiter mission, we use the PSLV, and for this mission we are using the GSLV, which is, on the heavier side of the rocket. Why this difference when we talk about the two launch vehicles that we are taking into consideration?
Mars Orbiter mission, the smaller craft, so only one. But here we have 3 propulsion. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr.
Yeah. Shall I start the answer?
Yes.
Yeah. See, as you have said, the Mars Orbiter mission was simpler in terms of mass and size. Whereas here we have 3 units. The launcher has 3 units, more than nearly 3, lander and the propulsion module and the rover. So you need to have, and also you have to have more fuel. You need time to travel and find out the exact location where you can safely land. So we need a more powerful rocket, not only to go to the though. Yes, you are right. Mars is several hundred million kilometers, but Moon is nearer. Yes, but there is one point here you have to understand. As you go into the free space, traveling in the less gravity field is doesn't need much fuel. If you can go to Mars, maybe you can go even further. That means the power required, fuel required will be much less. But here, in this case of Chandrayaan 3, more operations are required, more submissions, like making sure the propulsion module identifies, looks around, and you are able to land in a proper space, and then make sure the lander is safe. You need time, you need fuel, so that you have a pakka fault-free decision. That is one of the reasons why we have larger capacity of the launch. And GSLV, our GSLV Mark III is certainly a bigger vehicle than the PSLV. That's one of the main advantages we have with, and we need that.
Well, also,
Have I answered
Mr.
your
Raju,
question?
I have one more question for you. This is when we look at, trying to
please.
monitor this entire mission from a Bangalore station. One of the biggest worries is that there could be a possibility of your communication being cut off. Now, what is the kind of time required for you to send a signal, and then for it to, for the equipment to act on it, and you get the desired, you give the desired command, and then the action to take place? What is the kind of time that we are looking at?
Yes, yes. In the case of Mars, it will be several minutes. In the case of Mars, 12 minutes. Because
Alright.
average is 300, 200 million kilometers. So the speed of light is much less. It's about 300,000 kilometers per second. So if you send a signal, number one, before that you should know what is the status of the equipment. Why do you want to send command? Maybe something is not working. You don't know whether temperature is okay or the voltage is okay or not. So you should have enough time to send the signal and find out the status of a subsystem which is either functioning, whether it's functioning healthily or does it need any correction. So you need to and fro, two or three rounds of confirmation and sensing and confirmation, and then actuating. You need an actuator to act. Either you want to change a subsystem's level of power generation. It depends upon the problem. So we don't have much time. We talk in terms of microseconds or milliseconds. So this is a very important question, and this problem, to take care of this, we have to have a satellite which has got its own intelligence built into that. So you find out the possible errors beforehand, before launch. There will be a thorough discussion. What are all the possible errors? What are all the things, corrective actions that you may have to take care and build that and burn that kind of a program as a backup, action to be taken. And this is what is a big subject called spacecraft autonomy. So for some minutes, especially when you are behind the moon, you have no way to communicating with the mission, with the craft. So this is to be done in advance and taken care of sufficient enough so that in the event of any error, any problems, it will be done automatically by the computer, by the onboard computer.
So from what is the learning that we had from Chandrayaan 2? That is to build more and more systems into, that would will be redundant in the sense that it will help in reducing the errors, is it?
Yes. One of the things is you have more time. As you also said, some time is required. Minimum finite time is required to find out what is the error. You cannot take one error. You have to average a number of signals or the data that you need to accumulate over a period of time. And that means you have to travel for a longer distance. You have to reduce the error by calculating, by making some computations, standard computations. But to know more exactly, you need to spend more, time on the computation. Then when you need more time for computation, you should be traveling. So you don't have too much time to keep on averaging and finding out the error and what action to be taken. So the computation, the time required plus the action to be taken, both should be done very fast. And that's why we have increased the fuel, we have increased the larger distance for traveling like 4 kilometers by 2.5 kilometers.
All right. Also going to bring in, Group Captain V.N. Jha in on this one. Group Captain Jha, your first points on what you think we've learned from Chandrayaan 2. And secondly, considering the success and challenges of other countries that have, landed softly on the moon, how has ISRO approached the design and engineering of Chandrayaan 3? How is that different after the lessons that we've learned from Chandrayaan 2?
Well, coming back to the lessons learned, I just wanted to add a little bit on your previous question. See, when you are at moon, it takes about 4 seconds for reacting to a situation of controlling any events of your craft. Now, 4 seconds are hell of a lot of time, because in that 4 seconds, that craft will crash. You will not be able to control. That is the reason why inbuilt onboard AI enabled chips are there, computers are there to take control of that, so that all the parameters that is being gathered by the craft, all sensors, altimeters, velocity meters, the optical camera, all those are feeding the approaching surface. And to that, the AI enabled logically controlled computer that will take care of the soft landing. Remember, last time when we had sent the Vikram 2, at that time we had kept slightly higher velocity, landing speed, vertical speed, slant. The range was slightly higher, to which the lander couldn't withstand. This time, the velocity has been reduced to about 2 meters per second. That is the tolerance that we have given, compared to the 3 meters per second of the last time. Same thing, horizontal velocity this time has been given, reduced to 0.5 meter per second, compared to the last times about 1.5 meters per second. The slant, most important, this time has been given about less than 12 degree, what earlier was 18 degree. So all these have gone into the design and the logics of the entire profile that the landing will be enabled. And again, I remember you, the moment it gets detached from the propulsion system during the landing phase, everything is controlled by its own inbuilt computer. And that simulation has been done here on the Earth numerous times, because you must remember that it is not going to land exactly on the South Pole. You know what happens? If this is the moon, let us consider this is the moon. North Pole, South Pole. Now, South Pole is the 90 degree. The equator is 0 degree and South Pole is 90 degree. We are going to land the craft somewhere close to 69 degree, 70 degree or so. So, it's not exactly the South Pole. So, after the craft lander detaches from the propulsion system, it will come and make that gradual slope, go around and touch down at that speed. Everything will be controlled by onboard computer that it has programmed. And that is what has taken numerous times of simulations, numerous times of trials. So all these have been done by ISRO. And I appreciate ISRO scientists for having gone into that. In addition, all of us, we felt last time that the legs were a bit flimsy. It was slightly more, vertical, and it could have been made slightly more slanted. It could have taken a little more impact. These days we have dampeners. When you touch down, when you come for the heavy landing, there is a recoil, and if there is dampener to take that recoil, it may jump off. So this time, all those things have been provided, and so most of us, we are quite convinced that this time enough of the taking care of the failure or the learning of the last mission has been incorporated into the present system, and it should make a very smooth touchdown. Most of us, we are convinced that it is going to happen this time.
All right, that's actually very nicely and eloquently put what is exactly going to happen. In terms of the advancements or improvements that have been made in the technology and the fittings, the little instruments that are on board the Chandrayaan 3, Group Captain Jha, could you quickly, don't elaborate, can you briefly tell us what all is, has been fitted on the rover and the lander?
Well, this time there are two things. One is the sensors for the lander itself that I explained to you. Another is the experiment modules. Now, the experiment modules, if I go to Delhi for reasons which is not very clear, I'll make a lot of reasons that I'm going for this, I'm going for this. We are sending this for a technological upmanship. There is no particular reason why we should be sending the craft there, because Rambha, which will be measuring the surface temperatures in and around. There is a ILSA, which will be sensing the seismic activity of the moon. All these have been done earlier by some other craft, either of the USA or the China or the Russia. Now we are going to the slightly south, towards the South Pole. Activity we expect will be almost the same thing what has been earlier mapped, but how much of it is perceived at that space, it will be useful. It will be, these are the data which generate over a period, and it gives the entire scientific community of the world that this particular area of the South Pole is slightly different. That is why all these instruments are there. And last thing that I would like to add, the rover, which is carrying the two things, one alpha particle X-ray spectrometer and the laser finder.
Right.
This, in my view, is going to be more important, because on the periodic table today, world has got 118 elements. Who knows? This rover may detect, especially that laser particle which is detecting the elements.
Right.
It may detect that 119th element of the periodic table, which will be a big find for the entire world and scientific community.
A finding that is more historic than the journey itself. But at the same time, Group Captain Jha, according to me, I think there is some sort of limitation in terms of how far the rover itself can go. There's an umbilical cord that it will use to be connected with the lander itself. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi, even as he was speaking about India's technological, advancements in France, he said that best wishes for Chandrayaan 3 mission. He's let out those tweets. He says the key scientific outcomes from Chandrayaan 2 include the first ever global map for lunar sodium, enhancing knowledge on crater size, distribution, uniambiguous detection. That's the tweet. Chandrayaan 3 will be inserted into the lunar transfer trajectory after the orbit raising maneuvers covering over 3 lakh kilometers. It will reach the moon in the coming weeks. Scientific instruments on board will study the moon's surface and enhance our knowledge. Best wishes for Chandrayaan 3 mission. I urge you all to know more about this mission and the strides we have made in space, science and innovation. That's coming from the Prime Minister. Now, Varghese, we've had both these experts, ISRO scientists with us, very eloquently putting forth how the phases will be carried out, what's the difference between the GSLV, the PSLV, the Chandrayaan 2 and the Chandrayaan 3 mission modules, what is the significance of landing on the moon on that specific area. It's better for landing, the new minerals that might come. Group Captain Jha spoke about how we might just add another element on the periodic table. Are you excited? What is it that you're waiting for, you're looking for here?
Well, I'm also looking at what the scientific discoveries that might come from our small mission to the moon. It might be a small mission, but it's going to be a giant leap when it comes to the proving of technology and its concepts that we have. And probably, as I said, we might go with that mantra, low budget and high tech. That is the mantra that we are looking at, and ISRO is going to probably push on those levels. And I said, probably with that kind of an advantage that we would try to take with low budget and high tech, we might be able to get in more countries who would be interested and probably crowdfund to a large extent when you come to international space explorations through our technology to explore the cosmos. It wouldn't be limited to just few countries who would be giving us the data. So right now I think this is going to be interesting enough to see how this landing is going to take place, because this would also raise the ambitions whether we would have a lander on Mars also. It's a possibility, and we are probably looking at that in the future as well. But after having said all that, last time has made me a little jittery, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I hope the launch goes really well, and I hope on August 23rd the landing also goes out really well, and we would have, or rather ISRO would have a feather in its cap again.
All right, Mr. G Raju, final comments. Don't take a lot of time. Just final brief comments. What are you expecting today? I'm sure you're excited as well. Mr. Raju, are you with us?
Yeah, I didn't hear you. Please repeat the question.
Sir, are you excited? What's happening inside your mind? What are you expecting?
Yes, of course, I'm very much excited because, as you also told, last time I was part of the similar team in Chandrayaan 2. I was disappointed. I'm looking for a better and more, certainly I'm hopeful that 99%.
All right. Group Captain Jha, your final comments. I'm asking everybody the same question. I'm sure you're excited as well.
Absolutely. Every individual of science in India and on the earth, on the planet, will be excited for this particular thing, because we are going to venture into a field where no one else has gone earlier. So that excitement is there, but I am pretty certain that every human act has been taken by ISRO to make it a fruitful, to make it succeed, and I wish them all the best.
Absolutely. We here at News9 also wish all ISRO scientists, former and current, all the very best for this Chandrayaan 3 mission. If successful, let's not forget, India will become only the 4th country in the world to do a soft landing on the lunar surface. Best of luck, best wishes to all the scientists at ISRO and to all the people that are going to catch this live at the Sriharikota launch pad. Well, our hearts go out to you as well. We're leaving you with a curtain raiser video by ISRO. Take a look at that. Many thanks for watching. That's all the time we have for you. Keep watching News9 Live for all the latest updates. 4 p.m. again, we'll bring you all the latest from the ISRO launch.
India, a major spacefaring nation, has conducted a detailed exploration of the moon through its Chandrayaan program. The country has sent 2 robotic spacecraft to orbit the moon and to take a repeated look at its surface. Chandrayaan 1 demonstrated India's ability to reach the surface of the moon at a place and time of its choice. And with it, India became the 4th country to reach the surface of the moon in November 2008. Besides, Chandrayaan 1's conclusive discovery of water on the moon in 2009 was praised as a path-breaking discovery. The follow-on mission, Chandrayaan 2, had an orbiter, a lander called Vikram, and a rover named Pragyan. In the past 4 years, the orbiter has repeatedly observed the lunar surface and even today is working satisfactorily. Now, 3,900 kilograms Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft is being sent to the moon with the objective of making yet another focused attempt to slowly land on the lunar surface and to explore it with the help of a rover. Following the spacecraft launched by India's most capable rocket LVM-3, the Chandrayaan 3 lander carrying a rover within it will be carried into an orbit around the moon by the propulsion module. A little later, the lander will separate from that module and will attempt to make a soft landing in the south polar region of the moon. This region is of intense interest as it has many permanently shadowed craters which could contain water ice and precious minerals. Chandrayaan 3 lander has 4 scientific instruments or payloads, of which one will study the moonquakes, while the other one studies as to how the surface of the moon allows heat to flow through it. The third one will study the plasma environment near the moon's surface. And the 4th instrument will enable scientists to measure the distance between the Earth and Moon very accurately. The 2 instruments on the rover help us study the composition of the Moon's surface using X-rays and laser respectively. while the lander and rover will be in direct contact with each other. The propulsion module circling the moon will observe the light coming from Earth, the only planet which we know which is definitely teeming with life. This observation will help in understanding the nature of distant planets circling stars other than the Sun. As Chandrayaan-3 undergoes important tests and gears up for launch, thousands of ISRO scientists, including those who will launch it, control it and receive the precious scientific information from it using giant dish antennas, are readying themselves for the challenging tasks ahead. In the past, their dedication and skill have enabled India to earn praise from across the world and made it proud. Let us wish them well in this great endeavor called Chandrayaan-3.
Gautam Adani, one of the richest men in the world, or a business honcho, accused of manipulating the market.
अदानी जी 609 नंबर से दूसरे नंबर तक कैसे पहुंचे? सिर्फ एक सवाल पूछा, नरेंद्र मोदी जी, आपका अदानी जी से रिश्ता क्या है?
He has given the space, the railways, the airport, which he has no experience also. So the country's interest has been compromised.
Government has been very clearly supporting few industrial groups, including Adani's industrial group.
Target Adani, streaming now.
With all this gear, you must be wondering if I'm climbing a mountain. Well, let me give you a wider look of this place. This is Asia's largest mountain of shame.
A mountain of waste, almost the height of the Qutub Minar.
When you